Today on Waking Up in America, we are raising a hand for a cause. I have two amazing guests today, musician Kevin Black and photographer Dave Clements. Kevin's devastating family tragedy was not only his own turning point, but also changed the life of his friend Dave. In today's episode, we talk about a rare disease that claims lives of many young girls, that's now bringing together people in their common passion to heal and be healed. I'm Tajci. At 19, I was a superstar and I was lost inside. I left it all behind, switched continents, and started all over. Years later, I found myself lost again, this time in the American dream. This is a story about awakening, about living the life you were created for, about going inward and discovering the joyous and purposeful person you and I are both meant to be. This is Waking Up in America. Dave, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. You know, I feel like the stars aligned for you to just happen to drive through Nashville on your book and concert tour on the exact day that I'm filming my show.
Ever since we started this book project, the stars have been aligning for us, and this is just another example. We wouldn't have never had a book without that happening.
Yes, and this is the book. And will you please introduce the book and the project, Raising a Hand?
Well, the book is called Raising a Hand. It's a book of music photography that Kevin and I have both done. He's a musician and a photographer, and I'm a freelance photographer. And several years ago, we had the idea of putting together a book to try to raise awareness and money for a disorder called Rett Syndrome.
Yes, Rett Syndrome. Let's just quickly give an explanation of what Rett Syndrome is.
I'd be happy to. Rett Syndrome is a disorder that only impacts girls. It's a mutation that happens at conception. These girls, about 1 in 10,000, which is not very frequent, but frequent enough, especially if you're a family that has been diagnosed with a Rett Syndrome daughter. But these girls are born normally, they progress fairly normally up to the age of 12 to 18 months, and then they start regressing back to infancy. They lose their ability to talk. They have no meaningful hand motion. Most of them have a lot of hand wringing. For sure, they can't raise their hand. And many can't walk. And in the case of Kevin's daughter, Courtney, which is kind of what brought me into this story, Courtney lost her life at the age of 16 due to complications from Rett Syndrome.
Yes, and I am so grateful for you to do this, to raise the awareness, especially for these, you know, like you said, not such common diseases that get forgotten. And especially, you know, people that experience that, like you said, have a family member who is affected by that illness. So thank you so much. Now, I understand Kevin's turning point was that, you know, when his daughter was diagnosed. So tell us about your turning point.
Well, the quick story is that I retired from corporate America, and I knew I was retiring. And at the same time, I was also getting married, and I had a gift that I wanted to give to my soon-to-be wife. It was some sheet music, and it was a song that Kevin's brother Clint had written called It's Something That We Do. Anyway, I wanted Kevin to sign it because he also was a singer, and I'd seen him. So I took it to him, asked him to sign it, and I made the mistake as I was leaving to say, hey, Kevin, is there anything I can do to help you with your music? Please don't hesitate to call. I'm getting ready to retire from my corporate job.
And it was a nice corporate job.
Yeah, it was a nice corporate job. And I'm blessed to have had it. And it gave me the wherewithal to be able to do some things different in life. But little did I know at the time when I first met Kevin that he had a daughter. And I didn't know that her name was Courtney. And for sure I didn't know that she had a disorder called Rett Syndrome. I couldn't even spell Rett Syndrome, and it's spelled R-E-T-T. So it was pretty easy, but I'd never heard of it. And it wasn't until Courtney passed that my story really began with Kevin. I had helped him for a while, but it was pretty easy stuff, taking a few pictures, trying to book him a show here or there. But when Courtney passed, my wife and I were able to go to the funeral. And it was a day I'll never forget in my life. It changed my life, and to this very moment. But
what did you feel there?
Well, the date was March 9th, 2003. It was a Sunday. It was a nice Sunday in Houston, Texas, near where I live. And we were at Courtney's funeral, and it hit me like a freight train going by. We have a daughter named Sarah who is within a year the same age of what Courtney would have been had she not passed. And the whole time that Kathy and I stood and watched this funeral unfold and the burial, all I could think about was the thought of burying my daughter. And frankly, it was the thought that I couldn't comprehend then and can't comprehend now. It was an inconceivable thought, and it's one that changed the course of my life, and I can elaborate, but...
Yes, I hear, you know, being faced with fear. What if, with all these questions, have I lived my life? And we're going into that when we come back. We're talking to photographer Dave Clements and his partner, musician Kevin Black, about raising a hand for a cause. We're talking to Dave Clements, the photographer behind the project Raising a Hand, raising awareness for Rett Syndrome. So Dave, you tell me that you were at the funeral of your friend Kevin's daughter who died from Rett Syndrome. And I want to know what was going on inside.
Well, I think what really happened is what unfolded the next 3 to 6 months. And I knew what emotions I felt that day as a dad, and I saw another dad, my friend Kevin, struggling with the loss of a daughter.
Right. And what were your emotions?
Well, they were one of denial and pain and suffering. Even though I couldn't conceive the thought, I was feeling his pain. And the only thing I knew to do is I couldn't relieve the pain by flashing a magic wand over his head. All I could ask him to do is to join me and try to make the difference in other families' lives. Why
didn't you numb the pain?
Well, I'm not a number sort of guy. I'm kind of a doer, and it was more about trying to help my friend Kevin add meaning to his daughter's life and death as a Rett child than it was for me to relieve the pain any other way. And it has been helpful. I mean, it's added meaning to my life because this story is about two dads trying to make a difference in the big world. And we're not celebrities, even though his brother is. And that has helped us in our journey.
And you're talking about Clint Black, who also contributed to the awareness of this project.
Yeah, for sure. You're talking to one of the best name droppers in America. Because after Kevin and I got involved in this process, Clint said, "Hey, what can I do to help?" And that's helpful when
And I noticed you have this book is full of musicians, big names musicians that you photographed and then asked to join the project.
Right. Well, yes. Kevin does photography, and he's darn good, even though he's a musician first. I was in corporate America, but I'm a second career freelance photographer, and people tell me I do a pretty good job, and they like the book. But everything that we had done for 3 or 4 or 5 years was all centered in the Houston area as far as trying to raise money and awareness. For several years after we started our effort to raise money and awareness, the idea surfaced that perhaps there was an opportunity to go beyond Houston and beyond Texas as far as our reach in trying to raise money and awareness. And ironically, a picture that I had taken of Kevin several years before became kind of the nucleus of an idea that, geez, I liked photographs of entertainers raising their hand in the air.
Yes.
And ironically, it was a picture of Kevin. And from there, the concept of doing a book and doing something nationally surfaced in my mind. And right from day one, the thing I'm most proud of is that this book, right from the beginning, was always going to be about trying to raise money and awareness for Rett Syndrome. It was never going to be for profit. It was never going to be for personal gain. Been there, done that. This was always going to be to try to help little girls with Rett Syndrome. And
I even see the wider, how it helps people to where you said just two dads, you know, one healing from his tragedy the other helping his friend to deal with pain. It sounds to me that you were able to open up to, instead of numb or run from the pain like a lot of us do, you embraced it, you jumped into it, and you said, let me feel it for you and with you.
Yeah, and I would hate to try to analyze exactly why I'm doing it, but it's been clear to me that it's something that I have to do, and until we find a cure, I'm in.
You're in.
I mean, Kevin, and I'm not in alone. I mean,
yes.
We are partners in this thing, and we're going to hang in there until a cure is found.
Good.
And
thank you.
We're going to talk to anyone that'll listen to our story, and we're going to try to tell it as succinctly as possible. We're going to keep going until our last breath.
It sounds like your faith is just unwavering.
And that's why we felt like you were part of that, because of you having a vehicle to get it out to more people. It was meant to be for us to be here today, and I'm just so excited, not because I like being in front of a camera, but it's an opportunity to perhaps tell one more person about a disorder that needs to be eradicated from Earth, and it's one more opportunity to perhaps raise a few dollars to go towards Rett research. And I've got to add is that they're making a lot of progress in Houston, yes. in Birmingham, and Boston, but the researchers have been able to actually reverse the symptoms in mice, and they've been able to start doing clinical trials and think that one day there might be a cure for Rett syndrome in our lifetime. So it's real. It's
real, and we can all make a difference. Yeah. We can all help to have that happen. Thank you so much. When we come back, we'll bring Kevin Black in and talk to him about raising a hand. Do you feel stuck in life? Are you waiting for a miracle? Would you like to transform your pain and anxiety into joy and freedom? Here's how. The answers are in my book, Turning Points. There are dozens of stories of people like you, people stuck in addictions, abuse, and bad relationships. But they all took that first step. They all went on a transformational journey, and so can you. Visit wakinguprevolution.com, amazon.com, or any major online bookseller. Get your copy and turn your life around today. We've been talking to Dave Clements, who, along with Kevin Black, has been raising awareness for Rett syndrome through the beautiful project Raising a Hand, a photographic music festival with a cause. And now we'll switch gears and welcome Kevin.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean, we could have a series with your story and just talking to you. We're going to try to just recreate a little bit of what it's like for you to lose a daughter to this terrible disease.
Well, it's probably not unlike all the other parents that lose a daughter. I just happened to spend 16 years with a daughter that was different than a lot of other people's daughters. But I know losing a daughter is the same to just about every other parent, yes, as it is my loss. So it's, you know, when Courtney passed away, I know I'm probably jumping forward a little bit, but when she passed away, I was ready for Rett syndrome to be over, yes, and out of my life, and just take my memories of Courtney and move on. And it didn't happen that way. And sometimes, you know, how we plan things, and then life changes and there's a road that pops up and you decide which way you're going. And that crossroad came whenever Dave and I had a serious conversation about trying to make a difference. And from that point forward, I haven't been able to really grieve completely over it, because Rett syndrome has been in my life ever since then, you know.
And you have two other children.
I have two sons who are grown now, 28
and also in the music
24.
Industry?
Mm-hmm.
Also in the music industry like yourself?
They're both musicians.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
how did that...
I was hoping they were smarter than that. But
well, you know, music, I'm a musician, it's healing, and once you feel how it takes your soul, and it's hard to
it's helped me a great deal in this whole journey, from because one of the messages that I get to deliver is something of hope, and that and through my music, there's a lot of lyrics in music that help people learn to cope whenever maybe they didn't the day before as well. And when they hear a song and they understand that there's other people that are going through life just like they are. I didn't know that when Courtney was alive. They didn't have the things that they have available now, all of the outreach programs, or we didn't know about them.
Right.
So.
You know, and that's why it's so important that you are speaking out, that you're sharing your story, that awareness, that support, and that hope that you're delivering, that's saying, no, you don't have to be alone in your pain.
Mm-hmm. And that is one of our messages. We don't get to express that to everyone. Obviously, we can't. But we get to go and do programs like this one, and hopefully, you know, there's a lot of people out there, and maybe even some of the medical community that's out there that's unaware of what Rett syndrome is. And the more the medical community understands about it, the more hope that Rett parents and Rett families have, because they know that someone is out there focusing on a cure.
So was your turning point really when your daughter was diagnosed, or when she passed away, or both?
Well, actually it was prior to her being diagnosed, because the symptoms, the characteristics don't show up immediately when a Rett child is born. They grow normally. They learn to speak and walk and feed themselves, and then depending on how severe the characteristics are, and they're different in every child, is when the progression or the progression starts to slow down and the regression starts. At that point, something's wrong. An alarm goes off, and where do you go? You go to your pediatrician.
Right.
Pediatrician doesn't know what Rett syndrome is, so he says to me, everything's going to be fine. I think your daughter is lazy, but she's going to be fine. And so it doesn't take very much longer after that, when she starts losing her vocabulary, to realize, I don't think he knows what he's talking about. So you have to, then it gets real scary then, and then you have to search for somebody that has the answers. And there's a lot of places to look, and obviously I looked up many, many times for answers, and I wasn't getting them from God, and I wasn't getting them from my doctors. So then it finally gets to a point where, I mean, that's a turning point, yes, hands down. And then, believe it or not, there's a strange relief, but the pain changes, because when you find out what is wrong, then you feel a little bit relieved, because now you know what you're dealing with. Now the doctors can tell you, but then that's whenever you become aware of what the rest of her life is going to be like, and the rest of ours.
It's very important that the work you're doing, raising awareness for a rare disease, to give it a weight, especially the cure is possible. It's there. You can see it. Mm-hmm. So on that level, thank you, on that just universal level. But I also want to thank you for, for talking about it, because I know for me as a mother, we don't want to.
Well, it's hard for me to talk about it. I mean, it gets me, I mean, the pain is still here, yes, up to here. But it has to be done. People go through a lot of painful things to help other people, and that's what we're doing with this book. Pain
is part of life. We can't, no matter how hard we try to numb it or distract from it or run away from it, we can't. So I just want to thank you for, for embracing that pain and sharing it and saying, no, I feel it, but I'm not going to dwell in it. I'm going to go and fight and look for a cure.
Well, you know what's really special? And I know we hadn't said a whole lot about all the artists. I'm not going to name, yes, a bunch of artists. But when people get to see the book and they realize how many artists have come together, there's a lot of these artists in here that have suffered a tremendous amount of pain themselves, with, yes, all different types of relationship, whether it be mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and daughters. And so that's one thing, the artists, when they get the message, all these artists got the message.
I know.
And they all came together for us.
And that's so beautiful. That's a miracle of this whole thing. When I received your book, you know, of course I know a lot of these artists from, you know, just from loving their music, and I was thinking, oh, and there's a turning point, and there's a great turning point story, and to be connected in this wonderful cause. Thank you for you. Thank you for the music. So this is going to be fun. One-word answers. Ready?
Yeah, this is new to me. Go ahead.
Okay, ready. What makes you most alive?
Air.
What do you love the most?
My wife.
What are you, oh nice. What are you most afraid of?
Death.
What is your biggest challenge?
Selling books.
Your favorite playing activity?
Music.
Favorite instrument?
Guitar.
How does music make you feel?
Fabulous.
Oh, good. In the next 5 years, you want to experience?
Success with the book.
Oh, ballads or up-tempos?
Both.
Jazz or country?
Yes.
Guitar or piano?
Guitar.
Ah, black and white or color?
Black and white.
Oh, hearing or seeing? Ah, if you could only choose one.
Seeing.
Oh.
I have to see my children.
Oh. City or country?
Country.
Morning or evening?
Evening.
Favorite food?
Oh, I don't know. Barbecue.
Texas barbecue.
There you go.
You're most grateful for?
My children.
All our world needs is?
Peace.
If I could abolish anything from the earth, it would be?
Rett Syndrome.
And one last question for both of you. This year I claim?
I claim dedication to finding a cure.
I dedicate the rest of my life to finding a cure for Rett Syndrome.
Wow. Thank you so much. The song you're going to do for us.
I'm going to do a tear for you. Do you want me to tell you about it, or do
Yeah.
we wait on the next?
Yeah, you can.
Oh. It's a song that I wrote for Courtney. It's called A Tear for You. And I didn't know that I was going to be writing the song for a book when I did. I wrote it in a way that would be universal to everyone's losses. We all lose someone in life. And it's not a dreadful song, it's a happy song because it has a lot of hope in it and a lot of great memories of Courtney. But whenever people hear the song, I want them to be able to reflect back on some of their own losses and have a nice day.
Thank you so much. I know a lot of viewers that will really appreciate the song Tear for You. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Today's a good day for a memory. And how long has it been? I keep a picture of you in my head. There's so many things I wish I could have said to you. Oh. Here comes a moment where I start to cry. And here's a tear for you, and here's a tear for me, coming together with the perfect smile. Those who know me know that I'm happy to only have had you for a little while. Today's a good day to laugh out loud. When I think of you, I have to. You can tell by the look in my eyes, I wasn't ready to say goodbye to you. Oh, here comes a moment where I start to cry. And here's a tear for you, and here's a tear for me. They're coming together with a perfect smile. So those who know me know that I'm happy to only have had you for a little while. Said those who know
I am raising my hand to raise awareness for Rett syndrome, and I'm inviting you to do the same. Please visit raisingahand.com, check out Dave and Kevin's amazing stories more in depth, and get a copy of your own book. And the next time you go to a concert of any of these great artists, ask them to sign it for you and thank them for raising a hand. Perhaps maybe you can even approach some more artists to do the same and take pictures and send them to Dave and Kevin. And then visit us at wakinguprevolution.com to replay and share this episode with your friends. And I want to ask you something else. Don't run from your pain. Embrace it. And then help someone else deal with their own. Just like Dave and Kevin are doing for each other and for so many other parents and people in our world. Consider becoming our patron. Go to patreon.com/wakingup to help us tell more stories like these about people who are making a big difference in our world. Thank you so much. Raising a hand.
I'm Olga Alexeyeva. I'm the artist and owner of O Gallery. This episode was filmed at my studio at Marathon Village, Nashville. Please visit us at ogalleryart.com. Thank you.